When it comes to matching someone's DNA to a crime, can Fox 5 employees be considered suspects? Well, last night we told you about a man convicted of rape in part because of DNA evidence, even though he wasn't a match.
Now, when there are multiple suspects, the GBI Crime Lab doesn't exclude anyone who has even a single genetic match. Senior I-Team reporter Dale Russell wanted to know how common it is to match DNA evidence, so he put our own Fox 5 employees to the test. Dale?
Russ, we picked 4 employees, including myself, and we had our DNA tested and then compared it to the evidence in a gang rape case. The same evidence used to help convict Kerry Robinson.
Meet Dale Russell.
Kerry Robinson didn't testify at his trial, but he agreed to talk to us about a 2002 conviction for rape.
If you sat down in that witness chair and looked the jury in the eye, what would you tell them?
I'm innocent.
But they hear that from everyone that's charged.
Exactly. I'm innocent by evidence.
A jury convicted Robinson of taking part in a gang rape at this home in Colquitt County in 1993. During the trial, the rape victim couldn't identify Kerry Robinson. The only evidence against him was the testimony of Tyrone White and DNA. Tyrone White was the leader of a 6-day neighborhood crime spree in '93. He admitted to shooting 2 men and robbing and raping a woman. White told police Kerry Robinson also raped the woman. Kerry had no alibi. He says Tyrone White was out to get him because White suspected Robinson of turning him into police. He says White taunted him before the trial.
I'll get you back.
He said that?
Yes, sir.
Who'd he say that to?
Me.
Under Georgia law, you can't convict someone on the sole testimony of a co-defendant. You have to have more. So the prosecutor introduced DNA evidence. And now some scientists say that DNA testimony was wrong.
And this evidence, I can tell you, really excludes Kerry Robinson. Then I think that is a game changer in this case.
The GBI concluded Tyrone White's DNA was a match because 23 out of 24 of his genetic markers, called alleles, matched the evidence from the rape. But Kerry Robinson had only 2 alleles that were identical. That's far from a match, but according to GBI protocol, that's enough to tell a jury he can't be excluded as a suspect.
I think there was a mistake made here.
A Connecticut Crime Lab scientist agreed. Too much of Kerry Robinson's DNA doesn't match the sample from the rape victim, so he believes Kerry Robinson is excluded.
You need to look at the full sample. And
we took it to a third scientist, Angelie Swinton, president of Silo Forensics in Maryland. She, too, thinks Kerry Robinson clearly should have been excluded.
I can't think of another scientist that I know that would not agree that that's an exclusion.
We wondered, if you pick some people at random, what are the chances that some of their DNA would match any of the DNA in the Kerry Robinson rape case? So we tested the DNA of 4 employees here at Fox 5. I was one of those employees. All of our DNA was mailed to the laboratory at Boise State, Idaho, where Dr. Greg Hempikian of the Innocence Project is a professor in biology. The results? Ben had only 1 genetic marker or allele that matched the rape evidence. Randall and I both had 2 markers that matched the rape evidence.
I think you need to ask the GBI if you're still a suspect in this case.
But one newsroom employee had 3 different alleles that matched the evidence, more than the DNA from convicted rapist Kerry Robinson. That employee, Ansley, a 26-year-old white female.
And I would presume that all of your employees had alibis and were nowhere near the scene of the crime at the time it was committed.
Under GBI policy, the Georgia Crime Lab would conclude that all 4 of the Fox 5 employees could not be excluded as suspects in this case.
That's a very powerful set of words to a jury. Cannot exclude. The scientific evidence has to be very carefully scrutinized. And if it's not, then none of us can be eliminated. All of us are open to false accusations.
A GBI Crime Lab scientist told me on the phone they weren't surprised our employees matched some of the DNA evidence because they tell me people share many common genetic markers. And they say the problem is that when they see the data, they have to report the data, and they do not exclude anyone who matches up on any of those genetic markers.
Well, let's certainly hope that the juries are getting the full perspective of what this DNA evidence means and what it means that somebody's not excluded, which might mean nothing at all. Now, what are Kerry Robinson's chances of using this new perspective to perhaps get out of jail?
He's got a tough job ahead of him. He's got a couple of ways he's trying to fight this. There are a couple of different motions, and his lawyer admits to me it's going to be hard. He's trying to challenge a DNA statute on the books that really isn't right on point to what his issue is, but he wants to re-examine this evidence and use the latest technology. He's got to get consent before he can do that. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's going to be able to battle this or not.
All right, we know you stay on top of it. Thanks, Dale.
Thanks, Dale.